Close Up is brought to you by the Kia Sorento R, redefining the power of Kia.
Last night I interviewed Professor Robert Klitzman. Now, he is a bioethicist and he says we need to get our heads around genetic testing. It is getting so advanced, he says, you will not only be able to screen for thousands of potential diseases, but also sexual orientation. It could lead to designer babies and eugenics. The concept provoked some very strong reactions. Mary said, wrong, wrong, wrong. We have absolutely no right to play God. But Debbie had a different point of view. She shared the tragic story of her own daughter's death from a rare genetic disorder that testing would have picked up. Now she lobbies for genetic testing so that other families don't suffer like she did. This is an emotive issue. It's throwing up all sorts of moral conundrums for our lawmakers. Some kinds of screening are already in place here in New Zealand, but will this technology lead us to eliminate the less than perfect babies? Here's Jahan Casanada.
In the Farrell family, everyone has a job. Sam's a builder, Elijah's a warrior, baby Annalise is a spectator, and then there's Jonah.
He's 3 years old and he's like any typical 3-year-old. He gets into everything and...
Everything. All the toes are there, all the fingers are there. He does everything that a little child would do.
But Jonah is a little different from other 3-year-olds.
When he was 10 weeks old, a friend mentioned that she thought he had the look of Down syndrome about him because she worked with babies with Down syndrome.
A hunch soon confirmed by a diagnosis.
It was devastating for me because I hadn't had any experience with people with Down syndrome apart from seeing them on the street. And I had really no awareness of what it meant apart from the Google search on internet that was telling me all the worst case scenarios for health possibilities.
Down syndrome kids are at risk of heart, vision and hearing problems. Jonah has none of those.
For his physical and motor skills, he's pretty much bang on for a 3-year-old. With verbal words and things, he's probably, I'd say, around 18 to 20 months at that stage, but he's very good at communicating.
Jonah's condition caught his family by surprise. But what if you knew that the baby you were carrying had Down syndrome? The government runs a national screening program to detect Downs in unborn babies. The tests can happen as early as the first trimester, when the mother still has the option of abortion. Speaking on Close Up last night, Professor Robert Klitzman says we'll soon be able to discover even more about the genetics of an unborn child.
We can screen babies for thousands of conditions. We can screen fetuses for many, many conditions, and we can now also screen embryos before they're implanted in a woman.
I think it's scary, it really is, because especially with the health of a lot of people these days, there are so many conditions and so many things, it's like, will anyone even get born anymore?
Over the next few years, as we develop more genetic testing, as the price goes down, so it becomes very affordable to do this, these will be questions that millions of people will face.
Saving Downs, an advocacy group, says New Zealand is already dabbling in eugenics with its Downs screening program. It's laid a complaint with the International Criminal Court.
We support the access of information so that parents can be prepared for the birth of their children. We think that that's an appropriate and ethical use of the technology. Our concern is when it's used to prevent the birth of children on the basis of their genetic or biological difference.
Angela says even the most thorough genetic screening will not guarantee that your baby will be healthy.
It really needs to stop before it goes any further, because where will it end? Well, we have people aborting because their child has the wrong colour eyes or the wrong colour hair.
But supporters of genetic testing say we're not heading down a slippery slope towards creating designer babies.
We have such good controls and such a good set of values about how these things are implemented that none of those concerns have actually been realised.
There are many uses for pre-birth scans. For example, if HIV is detected in a pregnant woman, treatment can prevent the virus being passed on to the baby. Embryos created by IVF can be tested for serious disorders like cystic fibrosis and haemophilia. This is already happening in New Zealand.
Families want to be informed so they can make choices about whether to continue with the pregnancy or not.
Angela says even if she knew Jonah would have Down syndrome, she would not have ended the pregnancy. She knows many other women may have made a different choice, but for the Farrell family, Jonah is a blessing rather than a burden.
I don't see Jonah as disabled, I see him as perfectly able. He's just got an extra chromosome.